A very good evening to all the beautiful and strong Womanias present here. I, Mahinur Kapadia, on behalf of Womania Unite community, heartily welcome you all. Womania Unite is a community to cherish, appreciate, empower, and celebrate this amazing phase of womanhood. It is okay to not be okay sometimes, but it is absolutely not okay to not be okay all the time. Hence, today we all are here for this particular webinar where we will discuss various areas and aspects related to mental health. We are going to know about what is mental health, why is it so important to be taken care of, detailed insight about stress, anxiety, and depression. So today we have a consultant psychiatrist to enlighten us with his immense knowledge. He has completed his DNB in psychiatry. He possesses 4 years of experience, is based at Borivali, Mumbai. He is also affiliated to Wockhardt Hospital and Tunga Hospital, Mira Road. His major interests include personality disorder, child psychiatry, and de-addiction. He has his own page on Instagram named @Psychiatrist Speaks to spread awareness about mental health and express his ideas. Talking about his personality trait, he's sweet, soft, humble, really down to earth, and definitely positive towards life and his patients. He's none other than Dr. Rahul Khemani.
Thank you, Mayanu, for such a beautiful introduction. I am extremely honored to be on Womania Unite finally. Extremely happy that so many of you could make some time and attend this program, especially on World Mental Health Day today. The theme for this Mental Health Day today is Mental Health for All. And just before I start with my presentation today, I would like to give you a small brief introduction on why the theme has been called as Mental Health for All. Because in this lockdown, the one thing that people experienced was that whether it's rich, poor, whether it's an Indian or a Spanish person or a Brazilian or anyone or an American, everyone needs to take care of their mental health because everyone realized how difficult it was to overcome this pandemic. Though we are not par with it, the one good thing that has come out from this pandemic is what I would say is people are more aware about mental health, which is directly visible in the number of people who are participating in this webinar. I hope most of you are not here just for the certificate, but also to listen to what I'm trying to say today. So I am extremely sorry for the delay that I made today. Unfortunately, I was a little stuck with my OPD, and I would like to start by presenting my slides. Is it okay if I can do that, Mahi?
Yes, doctor.
So, as I said, that this year's theme for World Mental Health Day is mental health for all, greater investment and greater access to it. So, to begin with, let me start by explaining what mental health is. We are going on talking about mental health this, mental health that. So, what is mental health? Mental health is basically the way you think, the way you feel, and the way you behave. Basically, this main function of your mind is controlled by your mental health, the way you are healthy. Or let me give you a better explanation of this. Just like how for your physical health, you take care of your body, you eat healthy, you exercise, the same way, taking care of your mind is called as mental health. Now, why are we talking about mental health, and especially why to you people? So, focusing on women right now, the terminologies might sound a little difficult, but I will come to explaining each one of them. As you can see, that the number of women who attempt suicide are 2 times more than men. Anorexia and bulimia are disorders of psychiatry which are 3 times common in women than men. It's eating disorders basically. 1 in 12 women develop alcohol dependence over their entire life. 2 times are as likely as men to develop depression. and 2 times as well are likely to suffer from anxiety disorders. And most importantly, 2 times are likely to experience PTSD or post traumatic stress disorder. As I said, so if we understand what mental health is, now what is mental illness then? Mental illness is a condition which affects the way you think, the way you feel, and the way you behave. And any disturbance in any of these three requires you to understand that you need professional help. Coming to a soft topic over here, now that we understand what mental health is and what mental illness is, let's understand what mental load is. In other words, what I'm trying to speak about is that mental load is something that women specifically experience. See, what happens is, yes, the times are changing. The generation is better now. Men and women work together in their household work. But at the end of the day, still, grocery and other household things are always something that women keep thinking about, that they are tense about, that they are anxious about. This mental load, for example, if I have to give you, is like if you ask your brother or your husband or your dad to go and wash clothes, they will just go and switch on the washing machine. But you know how difficult it is to pick up clothes, one on the drawing table, one on the sofa, some on the floor, collect them together, put them in the washing machine, and then switch it on. So the amount of stress that you all take is much, much more, unfortunately, due to the gender role and stereotypes that the population has right now. When I say gender role, you understand what I mean. That it has already been pre decided that women usually end up working for house, but it's supposed to be a shared responsibility. So this mental load eventually leads you to a burnout stage, and that unnecessarily increases the stress even more. Now from there we come across a disorder that is very famous, very common, something that people love talking about it and very commonly label everybody else. This is a confusion that a lot of people come to me and ask me, am I just sad or am I depressed? Is it just the words that are different? No, it's quite a lot more. So, as you can understand, that sadness is basically the condition or the quality of being sad. Basically, sadness is an emotion that you can experience at any point of time in your life. You can feel sad maybe when you break up in a relationship, or maybe when you meet with an accident, when you get angry with someone, something of that sort. So, feeling sad is extremely common. Just like how sadness is, there are other emotions like anger, jealousy, happiness, most importantly, or the other kinds of emotions that you can experience. So, emotions are experienced based on situations. So, then what is depression? Now that we understand what is sadness, let's dive deep into depression. But before we understand depression, we need to understand that how long does a person need to feel all these things before we call them that they are in depression. So there is a criteria that the person needs to be feeling all these features for a period of at least 2 weeks. It can be more than 2 weeks, but a minimum period of 2 weeks that you should be consistently feeling what I'm going to speak about in the next slides. Depressed mood. Now, what is the difference between a depressed mood and a sad mood? Depressed mood is a different kind of sad mood which is persistent, pervasive, does not depend on a trigger. You don't feel sad just because you were scolded by someone today. You feel sad irrespective of everything that is going on externally perfect. And most importantly, this does not go even when you get something that you should feel happy about or do something that you could feel happy about. Along with that, there is loss of enjoyment. You stop enjoying your day to day activities, your hobbies, the things that you used to do. Otherwise, for example, I used to love playing tennis, or I used to go with my friends on road trips, and suddenly, even if I'm with them, I'm not feeling happy at all. You start having no energy in your day-to-day activities. You can't even lift your hand or just get up from the bed to do anything that you wanted to do very easily. Next, you start losing appetite. You don't feel hungry anymore. Even if the tastiest food is in front of you, no, you don't want to eat it anymore. You can't sleep in the night. You try to keep on trying to get sound sleep, feel comfortable about it, but no, you toss and turn, but hardly you sleep, probably for an hour or so, and then you are again very disturbed. You start getting ideas of feeling guilty. Now, this is one more important thing that you can experience. Suddenly, you remember a past event which you had never thought about that could be so significant, and you start feeling extremely guilty about it. You can't concentrate on your work. It could be your college work, it could be your assignments, it could be anything, but you can't focus on anything, and you start forgetting things very easily. You were the top student in your college, or you were the top performer in your work, and now you can't just perform at all. Indecisive. This is one thing that a lot of people come up with. They keep on saying that I don't know what to do. I'm just confused. Should I do this or should I do that? When ideally you already know what you actually want to do. Self harm. Unfortunately, you try to harm yourself because of the intolerable emotional pain that you're experiencing. You have such intense mood swings that at one point of time, just to end this pain, you try to harm yourself. And I'm pretty sure most of you would have either seen in one of your friends something like this happening or experienced this yourself. Impaired self confidence. You don't feel confident about anything at all. You've just suddenly lost confidence and you don't have any self esteem left. Anyone comes and says anything, and you feel a little scared. Crying spells. Now, this is also something that you experience very commonly. What happens is that you start crying on the tiniest bit and you don't know why you're crying. You're just crying, and then you just end up feeling exhausted because of it. Irritability. Now, this is something that most of you would be feeling very commonly. Irritability is natural when your mood is disturbed, but in depression, what happens is that you start becoming irritable for no reasons. You might see your friend just scolding you, shouting at you for no reason at all. Loss of libido. For those who are married, might experience something like this in depression. You suddenly can't perform in your intimate acts with your husband. Now, how do we recognize whether it's happening in one of your friends? This is a common question that I usually get asked. That doctor, my friend might be going through depression. How do I know for sure that this could be depression? What you can look at is sudden mood swings. At one point of time, your friend is feeling okay, pleasant, and then at sudden other points, your family member or your loved one is very upset, very angry, or very low. It's very random, the mood swings. Academic difficulties. For those who are in school or in college, you might notice that suddenly the one who was performing so well has suddenly started scoring less. So it's not like the person will come and tell you that they can't concentrate or focus. They suddenly come up with academic problems. Suicide. Now, this is one topic that was very recently and very commonly spoken about in the social media. This is something that starts coming in their minds, and some of your friends or your family members might start talking randomly about it. So, when something like this happens, remember that you need to keep them safe. Any medicines or any sharp objects or any liquid detergents or anything must be kept under lock and key. Now, this is just a small advice that you can try and practice. Now, most importantly, let's understand that why does this happen? I mean, why would you experience something like this? Obviously, this is again a favorite question that is asked by everyone. Is it genetic? Yes, there is a chance that genetically you might have it either from your parents or your grandparents or your uncle, aunt. But the farther the relative, the lesser the chance. And even among relatives, even among twin brothers or sisters, it's still a chance or a probability that is still very low. So genetic plays a role, but not for sure. Remember one thing, that the causes that I'm speaking about are not 100% sure causes. The cause is still very much uncertain, and people always kind of try to figure out why this is happening to them. Next, I would like to speak on the psychological reasons on why you would experience depression. There is a lot of stress going around. Let's consider this pandemic itself, where a lot of people experienced losing out on their family members, losing out on their job, basically losing your own autonomy. And that is what eventually leads you towards a chronic state of sadness. There are certain cognitive distortions that also happen. Those are negative thoughts that you predetermine for your mind. Next, and the most favorite cause that I always like to speak about is the biological cause. As you can see, that these are the brain cells. As you can see, that there is a big brain, and when you microscopically see inside, that there are these cells, and there is a constant influx of chemicals from the top brain cell to the bottom brain cell. Now, the particular chemical, the neurochemical that I want to speak about today is serotonin. Serotonin is like how petrol is to the car. So, serotonin is required to maintain your mood, to have a good memory, to maintain good amount of sleep and cognition. Now, what does this word cognition mean? Cognition is your intelligence, the way you understand situations adequately. Now, let me come to certain specific women oriented topics that I wanted to speak specifically to a crowd that is so intelligent and understanding today. One thing that I would start by saying is that it's 2020 right now, and menstruation is still a huge taboo in India. People are still scared of going and buying pads or talking about that they are chumming right now. Those are certain things that you need not be scared of anymore, need not be ashamed of anymore. People are fighting for rights in regards to this, and I think the least that we can do from our side is liberate ourselves when this happens. There have been a lot of talks going on that women are supposed to be supported when they're having charms, when they're having periods, and they're supposed to be given leaves during work, or they can take leaves from college accordingly. What I think we should understand is that we need to sensitize the people around us that this is something normal and very common. From chumps, let's come to a topic that is something that a lot of people are always scared of, and they don't understand what is happening to them. I guess you must have already guessed about it. We are talking about PMS, or premenstrual syndrome. I will be briefly touching upon the important topics that I feel are there that women go through. But in case you feel that you want to understand more about it, feel free to just message me or call me or text me on Instagram, and I'll be more than happy to explain you what y'all are going through. Now, this PMS is something that begins before your chums. It is something where you experience intense mood swings, where you're suddenly happy and then suddenly angry. You experience this feeling of sadness and hopelessness. You don't understand what is happening to you, and you just randomly feel sad. You're anxious and irritated at minor things, and you don't know why you're doing this because chums have not even begun yet, but you're experiencing all these things. Along with that, as I said, this begins about a week to 10 days before your chums. And there are certain physical changes that you experience too, as regards to your breast tenderness, there is bloating, and you suddenly crave for sweet things. Obviously, who doesn't like sweet things? And lastly, you feel very less confident about yourself, and you're very reluctant to engage in any new initiative at work. So it affects the way you perform as well, and that is something which I would say is something severe enough. Why am I talking about PMS is that could this PMS actually be PMDD? Now, what is PMDD? This is premenstrual dysphoric disorder. Now, this is something that you could be experiencing, but you would not have understood about this. So, in case in your entire month, this was supposed to be only for 1 week, and then your jumps begin and you are going through that pain. But in case throughout the month you get only 1 week of normalcy and rest of the 3 weeks are just in this phase where you are intensely sad, you start having hopelessness thoughts, helplessness thoughts, you start feeling that it's better to just end your life. Such intense sad feelings when you experience, it could be related to premenstrual dysphoric disorder, and you should consult a mental health professional immediately, who will not start medicines immediately. They will understand the condition, suggest certain dietary changes, certain exercises that you could do that could help you with your mood. But eventually, if required, you would need to undergo either therapy or sometimes medications as well. Let's come to the second topic, that is postnatal depression. Now, this is, let's understand all in detail about postnatal depression. This is extremely common, and the most common form that you experience could be baby blues. Now, baby blues is something that every woman after delivery experiences. What happens is that after you deliver a baby, you suddenly are so exhausted, so tired that you feel very low, and thus you could experience feelings of sadness, you would feel anxious, frustrated, tired, and most importantly overwhelmed, because you are caring for a newborn, and a newborn is obviously not going to be sweet and simple. Now you need to remember, if this lasts for longer periods, then we call it as a postnatal depression. But most importantly, remember that it's not the fault of the mother. Most of the times, people just complain and say that it's because of the mother that she could not take care of herself well. No, these are intense hormonal changes that a woman experiences during pregnancy or post delivery. So we need to understand that during this phase, the mother will not be able to take care of the child, and that is what will confuse you the most. That rather than taking care of the child, the mother is pushing the child away. Another term that might come in the same notice is postpartum psychosis, where you can experience that the mother becomes suspicious. She might try to harm the baby as well and become very irritable and aggressive. This is something that is also common, and if this happens, do not be scared. This is a condition that is absolutely curable, and you will completely get better from this. Coming to a topic which recently was a webinar for you all, and you all have learned in great detail about it. What I am going to talk about in this is a small brief discussion on what PCOS is. As you know, that ovary normally has normal ovums, and in these ovums, if there is fluid collection, it becomes a cyst. If there are more than 12 ovarian cysts, then it is called as polycystic ovary. Now this comes with a lot of problems like excessive weight gain, acne, hair loss, and hair growth at places that women would hate to have. Now, my priority over here is the mental health which is affected because of this PCOS. You could it could get, it would affect your mood, it would affect your self-confidence, and most importantly, because of gaining weight, because of hair, you will start getting affected via your body image issues as well. Next, it interrupts your eating and sleeping patterns. You eat a little bit and you're gaining weight. You're just scared all the time of what you should be doing anymore. Also, it reduces your motivation and it increases feelings of worthlessness. You need to remember that PCOS and stress are very much interconnected. And if your stress is less, your PCOS is not going to be a problem ever for you. It's very easily treatable. What you need to do, I think, has been already discussed. But from my side, I would like to say that what you could do is just maintain a healthy diet, a good schedule for yourself, and I think you would be good to go in that regards. And always remember, counseling and therapy helps a lot in PCOS. Lastly, a topic that I know is a very scary topic, and a lot of you might feel a little upset after listening to this, but this is very important, and I think we need to spread awareness about this. This is about violence. This is about trauma. Domestic violence is unfortunately extremely common in our country. Along with domestic violence, there is as I was talking about it, domestic violence, assault, rape, emotional abuse, toxic relationships, relationships in which you don't want to be, but you're forced into it, you are emotionally abused in it, and you are, not allowed to leave that relationship, are called as toxic relationships. And this kind of trauma is eventually going to lead down into depression, anxiety, problems with your relationships, with your sexuality, with your identity, with your feelings of self worth and self esteem. And most importantly, it's going to start leading down to anger, where I've seen people or women getting angry on the children that they have at home or anyone else. So you need to tackle it right now, right away, before it becomes a problem. And most importantly, also something that a lot of women experience, unfortunately, is trouble at work in regards to any sexual remarks or inappropriate touching. And we need to understand that there are certain boundaries and there are options of reporting these problems. Always remember that. At the end of the day, you need to be ready to confront your darkness, because if you're scared, people are constantly going to take advantage of that. Now, something very interesting which a lot of people ask me, and I thought that before anyone asks me today in this webinar, let me myself tell you about it. That what are the things that you should not say to your loved one or to your friends? Look at your family. Just think of happy thoughts. If they wanted to think happy thoughts, they would have already been thinking happy thoughts. I don't understand what you have to be so sad about. Other people have it worse than you. Don't make them feel worse than they already are feeling. It's difficult, and that is why they're feeling this. It's because they can't come out of it. Everything is going to be okay. I promise you that. This is not a promise that you can make. All you can do is be supportive towards them, be there for them. When I had cut down sugar, my depression went away. Try it. Please don't give any home remedies. These are not going to be very effective, and that is going to make them feel even worse because they tried and they could not do it. You just need to cheer up and stop being depressed as if it's an on and off switch button. No. Come on, snap out of it. This is just a phase. This is like literally pushing them by telling them that they can just come out of it. Motivate them, but not in this manner. What you can rather do is the things that I'm going to probably tell you that you could say, but with caution. Do you want to talk about it? I'm here when you're ready. Allow them to speak freely, allow them to feel freely about themselves. I'm really sorry you're going through this. What can I do to help you today? Allow them the freedom to choose what they want to do. You're important to me. I'm here for you if you need me. That is all they want. They need reassurance from you. You're not alone. I may not understand exactly how you're feeling, but you're definitely not alone. And most importantly, when they start undergoing treatment, you need to be supportive by just asking the simple question: how are you managing? How is your treatment going? Let them know that you care about it. Now, most importantly, you need to understand that there is a difference between helping out a friend and taking professional support. Professional support is different. There is no judgments. It's very empathetic. It's a safe and confidential space. There are trained professionals like me who speak, and we use skills which is based on what we need to do, whether it's therapy or medicines. Which comes to my next common topic that a lot of people ask me: what if I require to take medications? Will it be safe? Yes, it is. If we are prescribing that to you, which means that we have considered the risk benefit ratio and understood that you need them right now. These medicines are non-addictive in regards to what people keep on saying. These are not sleeping pills, and they do not have any side effects. Remember that even if they have certain side effects, they are very mild and they will reverse once you stop the medicines. But at the end of the day, consider the risk benefit ratio and understand what is important for you, because suffering is not an option. Now let's consider some few strategies that you could try doing before you come and consult a professional. First of all, your habits, they need to change. Throw out your old habits, form new habits. Time management is a must. Make a list, plan your day. Remember two different things: what must be done and what should be done. Make a list so that you realize what you can do and what you need not do. What would you like to do? Remember, this one is also important. Most of the times we end up just working, thinking that this is what we wanted to do. But no, that was not the end of it. Cut out on time wasting. Realize what are the activities that you don't want to do and drop them. Learn to say no. Be affirmative. Allow yourself to decide what you want to do. And most importantly, set achievable goals. If you plan something, plan appropriately. Something that I keep saying, but hardly few people are able to do: maintain your diet, exercise regularly, and do some yoga. Most importantly, remember that there is a checklist which you could easily find on the internet called as the sleep hygiene checklist. This is very easy and convenient to practice. All you have to do is follow 5 6 rules and you will sleep extremely comfortably. There are days when you sleep late, when you wake up late, and those kind of things. Remember, your sleep is going to be the starting point of everything. And as I already said, practice as much as you can yoga, but both ways, the mind as well as the body. People end up practicing only, yeah, about their body, but you need to practice for your mind as well, which includes a concept of mindfulness, that is focusing on your present rather than your past or future. And lastly, but not something that we should forget, this is the priority: family time, social time. This is going to take you to places where you did not even know yourself, because social relationships increases the level of chemical that is responsible for your mood. A takeaway message that I would want to give on what is the way forward is that silence is overrated. Staying in pain, staying silent about it, is not something that you need to do. Our grandmothers and foremothers have suffered in silence. Things are slightly better for us today in terms of access to healthcare services and awareness regarding it. Remember to speak up and speak out. This is the only way that you're going to break down the stigma that people are scared about mental health for. Explore your past. As I said, confront your darkness. Give voices to silences that you have been carrying. If you come out, someone looks at you and makes an attempt to come out as well. There is no greatness in suffering in silence. Sacrifice at the cost of your well being becomes eventually a burden. And remember, we are there to listen to your stories. There are people who come to me just for talking. They come to me that, doctor, today I'm just going to come and sit and talk with you, and I feel better by doing that. And that's all you need to do. Just like how you're kind towards others, ladies, please be kind towards yourself too. Relax, because it's a healthy option. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rahul. So now the room is open for questions. You can put up your questions in the chat box. Okay, so here's the first question. How to forget a past incident or person which always subconsciously runs in the back of the mind?
Okay. So you need to understand that what you are experiencing is a trauma, it's a negative thought. And this negative thought needs to be tackled at the grassroots level. It needs to be fought at from the most basic level. Unless and until you don't understand where it began, you will not be able to tackle it today. And secondly, we don't forget things. Our brain is made in such a way that our memory is so sharp that even if we want to forget something, our brain does not allow it, because that is not the way forward. The way forward is facing our fears, confronting the darkness, as I said, and moving forward. So remember, unless and until you solve the situation, you won't be able to divert yourself or distract yourself or move ahead from it.
Okay, so the next question is, how can we normalize taking holidays due to poor mental health?
So, unfortunately, about that, people still don't consider mental health an important topic for which you are allowed to take a leave. But nowadays, the awareness is spreading. People are more understanding about it, they're more willing about it. And if you try talking to your boss, to someone who understands your problem, they will allow you to take a break. I have a lot of people who come to me who are going through depression or anxiety or stress. And after evaluating them, I do give them certificates which allow them to take good amount of break from work without any risk of losing your salary or anything like that.
Okay, how to manage stress? Could you please explain some stress management techniques?
That is very interesting, a good question. So, stress is something that you need to understand can happen to anybody. Right now, I am stressed being on this webinar, and obviously, we can feel stressful when we are going for an exam. We can feel stressful when as I said, we break up in a relationship or something like that. So we need to understand whether the stress that we are feeling is temporary or something permanent. After we realize that, there are a few things that what you can do for managing it. What you can do is practice meditation, exercise, time management, as I already spoke about. And a few things that you can do is grounding techniques. These grounding techniques are something like allowing yourself to reconnect to the world. That makes you realize how important you are to yourself. As I said, that taking care of your mind is the priority, and this stress is external. So we need to take care of the internal part of your mind.
Yeah, so the next question is, I have many negative thoughts about my own self. How can I overcome this? I feel I'm good for nothing.
That is an intense negative thought that I would say, and I would genuinely have a one to one word or a conversation with whoever is feeling like that. This is something very severe, and you should not disregard it or think of it as something small. What you could be going through is an episode of depression or anxiety. So I think it is always a healthy option to speak to a mental health professional.
Absolutely. How can I control our anxiety if we experience lots of abuse, hateness in past?
So let me speak about the concept of control over here. There is this understanding that we control everything, but no, we don't control our everything. We control only our present moment. What we do right now, what we feel right now, what we experience right now. That is what we control. Our past, our future, it's not in our control. We can't do anything about it. So I don't mean to say that just forget about it or distract yourself from it. All I mean to say is that you need to solve those past issues, you need to face them, you need to tackle them at the grassroots level, as I already said. Unless and until you don't sit down and solve it with a mental health professional, it's going to keep on coming back to you again and again.
Okay. The next question is, when one starts hearing sounds of other persons, but those persons are not talking, and that one person talking alone with other persons, how to deal with such situation?
That experience is actually a part of psychosis. Now, what this that you asked is called as a hallucination. A hallucination is a voice that only you can hear and nobody else can. That is auditory hallucination. There can be visual hallucinations where you will be seeing someone or something that other people can't. Like how they jokingly sometimes say that there's a ghost, that I can see the ghost, but nobody else can. So that is a visual hallucination. So you can have similarly auditory hallucinations also, and the treatment line is completely different from the usual treatment.
Fine. The next question is, people taking sleeping pills just to get a better sleep, or I would say to take a break from a stress. So, how dangerous it could be?
See, taking sleeping pills is like when you have a fever, you taking Crocin. How long are you going to be able to continuously take Crocin? Because eventually the cause of the fever is important. The same way, sleep is just a symptom. Sleep is not the root problem. Sleep is not something that was disturbed initially. It was something that was on your mind that made you feel disturbed, which eventually led down to disturbed sleep. So, unless and until you don't tackle this, you're going to be stuck with less sleep always.
Yes. The next question
If you
is,
feel more sleep, then if you
If
feel
you
more
feel
sleepy,
more,
then
so ideally speaking, there is no
antidepressant.
concept of no. So ideally speaking, there is no more sleep. It's that you sleep excessively because you think your body needs sleep, but your body is so tired, so exhausted because probably of the low mood or anxiety or something that you sleep. But that sleep is not a satisfactory sleep. People who sleep a lot, ask them this simple question: do you feel satisfactory after taking so much of sleep? And most of the time they will always reply that no, it's not that kind of comfortable sleep that I would have had.
okay. The next question is, I came across something over the internet that mental disorders can begin at an early age of 14 to 15 years. How to combat that and how to prepare kids to deal with it?
Can you repeat the question, my mental illness?
Yeah, sure. Basically, she's trying to say that she came across a post on internet which states that the kids at a very early age go through these mental disorders. So how to prepare kids to deal with it?
So the only part that works out in prevention of mental illness is taking care of your mind, the initial part that I spoke about, that your mental health is your priority. If you take care of it, your children learn that from you, your friends learn that from you, your family learns that from you.
Mm-hmm.
So in children also, that is what we need to teach them, that we need to teach them to take care of their mind adequately. Like for example, let me tell you how I do that on a day to day basis. I just take out time for myself in this busy schedule. Despite me working from the morning till late night, in between I always make it a point to take out some time. I call it a me time, where it's only for me. I do whatever in that period I like to do, probably organizing the shelves, or drinking a sip of tea by the window, or listening to a soft song, or going for a walk. It could be anything. So, those are the things that you could try practicing, and that could help you eventually to release the stress that you're taking on a day to day basis. In regards to this, that mental illness starts in children itself, it's not necessary. It can begin at any age group. And even though you want to prevent it, it is not something you can do directly. If you even understand that it's an episode of depression, if it's an episode of depression in childhood, then there's a complete different treatment for that.
Fine. So could you please explain how do we manage mental health that is getting affected by PCOS apart from the medications? Also would like an emphasis on pain management.
So, yes, PCOS is something that I would say that almost every other woman is experiencing right now in this current world. And yes, apart from medications, what you can do is, as I said, stress management. So the basics, exercise, diet, and taking care of your mind are the basic things that you can do. For the pain, what you could do is use some hot bags, and on occasions the pain is too intense, so you need to evaluate on what is exactly happening, because the pain is a physical pain. What I'm trying to say is that it's going to be related to the gynecological part there. The pain, it's actually a physical pain that you're experiencing. So that is the reason why you need to take care of it. But the PCOS can worsen because of stress. I get so many patients who come to me saying that they have had not a single chum in the last 6 months, and these are young girls in their 20s, and this is how much the stress affects you, your hormones. So, yes, the pain can sometimes be related to the stress as well. So, learn to manage your stress at the basic level itself, so that when the time comes, you know exactly what you need to do for yourself.
Yes, absolutely. And the next question is how do I stop overthinking about every little things happening around me?
So, overthinking can be happening because of two reasons. One, your basic nature is something, could be that you are an overthinker. So, that is natural. That is something that you are born with, and that will something that is helping you progress in life. The second overthinking that can happen is something that happens in a mental health disorder, where you suddenly start feeling that you're overthinking a lot, and specifically negative thoughts. So, if that is happening, which means that you need to take care of it immediately by consulting a mental health professional who will tell you that it's not just overthinking, as I explained in the initial slide, that there are a series of things that you're experiencing, but you yourself don't realize it.
Yes. So now she is a generalized anxiety sufferer, and she's asking that how can I deal with it though there is no such cause of it. There is no rationalizing of the problem because there is no triggerer at all. It just comes and can't control on it.
So, anxiety, most of the time, if it's normal, it usually has a reason. But the ones that we are speaking about, the anxiety disorders, don't have a particular reason. And if it was a reason, then you would have solved the reason, you would have rationalized the reason, and you would have gotten better out of it. So that's the reason why we call generalized anxiety disorder as a free floating anxiety, that it keeps on being there around you even though you don't want to experience it anymore. So, per se, ideally speaking, over here, medications are going to be something that are going to be essential, because otherwise your anxiety is just going to keep on rising, and there is a possibility that along with the anxiety there could be some kind of comorbid depression as well. So that's what probably would be the case, but until I evaluate it I wouldn't be able to say about it for sure.
Yeah, so now this is Abiha, and she's 26 years old, and she has completed her diploma in psychotherapy, and she's currently doing depression and counseling. She's stating that she's suffering from depression for quite long and still have many dark times, but despite this, she's able to counsel people and have also saved many people from suicide. I have often been asked that why do I suffer from depression despite being so mentally strong and unbreakable. I am a writer and people see that my writings inspire and heal them. I never have an answer for this. I do not have a connection with myself anymore. I overthink a lot. I do not get along with my parents. Basically, I do not understand anything that is happening around me. I am sensitive and strong at the same time, like to the extreme. What do I do? This is her question.
So I think this is a very detailed question, and I'm actually very happy that you've taken the courage to ask
Yeah,
this question. But I feel that this question should be done some honest, what do we call, tackling, and that would not be possible on such an open forum. So I would want you to just, why not just have a small word with me, maybe not just exactly as a session, but why not have a one to one word where we could discuss a little more about what you're going through and we could understand what is happening. One thing that I would like to just say before I end is that this is something that is commonly seen, that yes, you might be able to help other people, but at the end of the day, when it comes to yourself, you don't realize it on what is that you are going through. And most importantly, remember, we mental health professionals, we take a lot of burden on our head when we consult people, patients, and that is why for us having a me time is extremely essential. So just like how Mrunmay said, it could be completely like a burnout, that you have just gotten exhausted because you're using all your resources for your patients, for your people, through your writing, and you're not tired of it. So let's have a word one to one, probably, and we could maybe, come to an understanding on what you're going through, and maybe we could work it out so that you can do even better by helping other people. Remember, this is not a short battle, this is a long term battle that we are fighting against mental illness. And don't get yourself tired right away, right now.
yes. So now this question is a bit crucial. She's saying that not everyone is similar and not everyone fit here, and no matter how much I try, I am not able to overcome it and eventually end hurting everyone around. So, is suicide justified in this case?
Suicide is not justified in any case ever. You've been given a life for a particular, you know, reason. And if you ask me, the reason is simple: just to live. When people come and ask me that what is the purpose of my life, I tell them that it's simple, that you just need to lead your life in the way you want it to, in the most comfortable manner. But yes, thinking that you have an ulterior motive or a purpose is not going to help you feel calmer, because that motive, that goal will eventually end, and after that, you would not know what to do. So remember that you don't need to think that experiences like this is the end game. What you need to understand is that what your experience is in an intense negative emotion, and that negative emotion is something that can be absolutely reversed and tackled and taken care of. So remember, consult a mental health professional. You specifically are, as I said, responsible for yourself. So do something for that.
Yes. So the next question is, मैंने सुना है कि साइकोपैथ्स के इमोशन नहीं होते हैं, तो क्या उनमें इमोशंस लाया जा सकता है?
What the person is trying to ask is about emotional quotient. Emotional quotient is understanding two things: one, your own emotions, and two, other people's emotions. So, yes, that is a fun fact that they say antisocial personality people or psychopaths are people who don't experience emotions. But yes, with adequate training, you could start experiencing emotions as well. But it's not an all or none thing, that not all psychopaths or antisocial personality people will never experience any kind of emotions. And more so, particularly, if you are not experiencing emotions, does not mean that you are a psychopath or someone. Please don't feel like that. Remember that what you're experiencing is numbness, and that is something that can be taken care of.
Okay, so the next question is, like, we all read news all the time and always hear about negativity and get afraid of it because there are so much things happening around girls. How to overcome this? How to get confidence so that we can walk alone?
Someone once told me that if she was given the option, she would annihilate all men in this world. And to that point, I partly agree with her. But somewhere I would also want to say that it's not everything that is outside. It's the way you perceive it, the way you look at it, and the way you understand it. The solution is not outside, the solution is inside. If every one person changes themselves, then we will never have a hateful world or a hateful community. This is something that I feel that people should understand, that just because one person did something like this does not mean that the entire same people are bad, which is what I would come to the point where just few men are horrendous, horrible, and they don't deserve to, be here. I would say that does not mean that everyone would be bad too. So remember that it's you who can begin by changing yourself, and eventually the world will also change in its own bit. You can't control social media, but what you can control is how much of social media you consume. So focus on that.
Yes, absolutely. So now taking up the last question for this session. Why do the past haunt us even today? And it happens any time, even when you are happy and smiling, suddenly you start having fear from people around you. Why?
So that is understandable. Your past is like a trigger for you, but at the same time, your past is something that makes sure that you don't do something that you will regret again in life. So, yes, as much as unfortunate as it is a learning experience, it is a pain too. But what, as I said already, is that what you can do is, rather than running away from it, unless and until you sit and tackle with it and work on it and bring about a solution to it by working on it particularly, you're going to keep on having those thoughts again and again. Yes, there could be some incidents that would not have an answer, but what we could do about it, even though it is the worst thing that you will have to do, is accept it eventually, because that is something that, as I said, is not in your control anymore.
So we have now come to an end with our webinar. Having said this, would like to thank Dr. Rahul Khemani for sharing his incredible knowledge and guiding us to the way of hope and positivity. Thank you for your time, efforts, and cooperation. Thank you to all the participants for being so patient and cooperative throughout. We keep organizing various workshop, webinar, challenges, competitions, and much more. Follow our Instagram page at the rate Womania_Unite to join as member. Also, don't forget to check out at the rate Psychiatrist feed
Thank you.
for really great
One question
content
more.
on mental health and positivity.
Excuse me, one question I want to ask.
Please
Hello?
do.
Yeah, sure,
Hello?
you can ask.
Yeah, I want to ask about this premenopausal. What are the symptoms like about premenopause adult ladies
PMS. So
and
in
how it can be
PMS,
controlled?
so PMS is something you could say is a period of 1 week to 10 days before your periods start, where you suddenly start feeling very irritable. There are severe mood swings. You're very sad on occasions. You start feeling very hopeless. You start avoiding people. You start kind of blaming people for all the horrible things that they have done. You sometimes, some people call it like a mini depression episode, though that is not a good word to use for it. In regards to what you can do about it is healthy lifestyle, and that, even though sounds something as simple and as trivial, it is something that is very important. Number one, maintaining a strict rhythm and schedule for yourself, doing things very adequately and enough is also something. And maintaining your sleep cycle, the sleep hygiene that I spoke of, is going to be something that is going to play a role as well. Now remember, if it is extremely intense and too severe, that is not coming under control even with all these things, that means that it is progressed beyond the stage of PMS and gone into the stage of PMDD. So at that point, I think that there is something that you need to do about it, that is like consult a psychologist or a psychiatrist, basically a mental health professional.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so continuing my vote of thanks further. Also, don't forget to check out at the Red Psychiatrist Speak for really great content on mental health and positivity. We'll be sharing e-certificates in our WhatsApp group, so kindly don't leave the group. Also, a feedback form will be shared as your feedback matters a lot to us. Take care, stay safe. Thank you.